I am ready for science. I hope you are too. Welcome back to another episode of We Roguelike It Ranking. I am your host, Boston DDS. I wrote them down this time. Mm-hmm. We're joined by Mr. Moonpier Doctor.
Come on, the formal one, please. Dr. Moon.
Thank Dr. Mr. Moonpier. And Monkey PhD.
Yo.
Mm-hmm. We are, if you never joined us, we're going to add The Legend of Bumbo to our list of the best roguelikes of all time, asterisk the ones we've played so far. So we are going to ask the normal questions we ask here at the very beginning, where we recap the game we just played, and then we ask, will you keep playing this game? So let's start with Monkey. What'd you like? What didn't you like? Will you keep playing The Legend of Bumbo?
Man. What I liked is... Or should I start with what I didn't like or what I liked?
It's up to you, freeform.
I guess what I didn't like is... I really wish they released it in early access.
Yeah.
And apparently me and a lot of other people, because I was reading Steam reviews and they were like, they should have just done this in early access, because there's been quite
more
a few
than
bugs.
a few bugs.
Yeah, it's a little, got some rough edges.
And
yeah, it's made of cardboard. What you expect?
Heyo.
Like, in addition to all the bugs that made it crash and like prevented progression, like it launched with no sound options. Like,
yeah,
like
yeah,
like, come on, guys.
Yeah. I expect the end movie to be deafening, but not the whole thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There have been so many times when I couldn't click cancel, like when picking a spell or like using a spell. Like,
yeah.
Oh no, just kidding. I don't want to use it. No, you have to use it. And it's like,
right.
Come on. And then I think it's interesting how every patch so far has added something to the game, but not something like a characters or items or like modes, but like changing the volume levels, Steam achievements, Steam cloud saves.
Right.
That is a very early access thing. Is every patch has a new feature, quote unquote,
like a core like cloud saves. It's like, oh, I didn't realize those weren't around, but that's greatly appreciated.
I think it's interesting. The most recent patch was like 2 days ago, and it added custom sound effects for bosses. And it's like that.
Oh,
that,
interesting.
That could have been in there. Like, I don't know. If it was
part of me wonders if this is a little bit of fallout from the whole Nicholas thing that happened right before this thing came out. Because I know they're in the credits. They are in the credits on this game as being a support team.
Yeah.
I think that's a contractual obligation that they have to be in there based on probably work they did before it came out. Well, I am very curious if that's a case of we need to find a different crew, and now they've found a different crew and they're slowly but surely implementing all the stuff that they probably would have had in there from the get-go.
That's true, yeah. Sure.
So, yeah. Other than my gripes with that, I really like it.
Yeah.
Like the puzzle mechanics are really cool. Like Puzzle Quest is a very dear to us, I guess.
Yes.
And
yes.
Like more puzzle games are like it's great to have something like this, a roguelike puzzle game.
Right.
And the fact that it's in the same universe as Isaac, like it gives us more lore for it. Like before Isaac went into the basement or chest or whatever the actual lore is.
Yeah.
That's super cool, because when I first beat it the fourth time, that unlocked the new cutscene, like that made me go down a rabbit hole of reading more Isaac lore. I was just like, man.
Yeah, like, this is surprisingly deep. All right.
it also allows them to throw in a bunch of cheeky references too, like we talked about on the last episode. Like, you got Brimstone, and immediately you have certain expectations of that item or spell because you have experienced that in Isaac, and you know that that's a game changer. So it's like, okay, how good is this going to be? Because this is a very clear, direct correlation between Isaac and this game.
I wonder if Godhead's in there.
That was the thing I was just thinking too. Is like, is Godhead in here?
But yeah, I'll definitely play it more. I don't know if I'll like get all the endings. Maybe eventually, like down the road, like way down the road.
Yeah,
but yeah, but going along with, I wish it was released in early access. I kind of want to come back to this after they're done patching it, you know? And
like when it comes out on Switch and it's like it has all the fixes and improvements and
and see if it changes in rankings in wherever we put it now. But
which is sort of a side effect of us playing. We haven't run into this before, where it's like we typically haven't played games that are brand new, and we didn't really run into this with Dicey Dungeons because that was a couple of months old by the time we played it. But this is the first brand new game that we've played where I don't know if that's going to affect our ranking. We'll get to that here in a little bit, but it's the first time it's really come up where it's like, yeah, this game is still sort of in flight. Yeah. Moonpeer, how do you feel about The Legend of Bumbo?
Pretty much the same as what Monkey said, to be honest. Like, I love the art style. I love the fact that this is a puzzle game with the roguelike kind of thing in it. I think I mentioned it a couple of episodes ago. Just don't do the CGI cardboard. Just make it real cardboard and like record your hand doing the little bounce kind of thing. Like,
you want to see the fishing line and the little like wooden sticks.
It's a really cool art style, but they could have gone so much further in it by actually just making it real, which we've seen from the promo photos. He made it all real. So
for the trailers, so you're saying Microsoft needs to purchase Edmund and James Id and just give them $50 million.
Yeah, sure.
And a cardboard team. A Labo kit.
let's get an open world first person Isaac shooter, please.
Boy. Cover-based shooter, of course.
Where every time you pull the trigger, the screen goes black for a split second as he blinks to spit the tears out. This might be the dumbest idea I have ever said out loud.
Yep. You just willed it into the universe. Congratulations.
Yep. Dude, first-person Isaac would be insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun game. Puzzlers are not my specialty, per se. I tend to struggle with puzzlers for previously aforementioned reasons. But it's Ed and it's Isaac, so I will feel the alluring call of poop as it brings me back into the fray every once in a while. It's been 6 months. Let's see what Bumbo's up to, and then just like I did with Isaac, I will play it constantly for a year and then stop and then come back to it like a year later and then play it for another year. Like
The Legend of Bumbo Rebirth. All right, let's dive back in.
I'm waiting for that. I am 100% waiting for that. Oh, Legend of Bumbo Rebirth Plus.
Right. Yes, that's the one you really want to play. Yeah.
Yes. I'll probably keep playing it. All in all, I genuinely like the game, even if it's not my typical genre.
I feel similarly. I have a real fondness for match 3, match 4 type of games. I typically don't stick with them for super long, not because they're not good or anything, but I just usually my magpie gaming syndrome is sort of like, oh, look at this thing, and then I just sort of like push that to the ground where it's like, you're old, get out of here. I feel like I will play more of this just because I feel like I've barely scratched the surface, but I probably won't play that much more until it comes out on Switch, because I feel like Switch is a pretty perfect platform for this, where it's like I can watch something and play some Bumbo. I don't have to focus on either one of them, and Bumbo is obviously not a Twitch thing. There's no... You make your matches. You can sort of half pay attention during enemy turns. So I feel like that's gonna be a pretty big benefit. But overall, really liked it. I am excited to see where it goes in the future as things settle down and as they sort of smooth the edges on it. I think it can be a really great game.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into our ranking. Let's start off with the most important question. Do we believe it's a top 10 game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I will agree with that. So it will go here under Prey Mooncrash. Do we believe The Legend of Bumbo is better than Prey Mooncrash?
Let's kick it up a notch. Of course it is.
Okay. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Is The Legend of Bumbo better than Dungreed?
For me, yes. Dungreed's great. Dungreed's a fine piece of gaming. I think Bumbo is better than it.
I don't know, because I feel like I had more fun with Dungreed.
But this is also an Ed McMillan game.
Yeah. And it's going to...
You're not supposed to have fun. You're supposed to suffer.
It's hard. Going against all of these, I think it would be hard for me because it feels a lot different because it's not an action-y game like most of these things. It's more puzzle.
Right.
I can get behind it being better.
My vote would be 100%. Is The Legend of Bumbo better than The Swords of Ditto Classic? This one is the one where I have trouble.
Oh, I would say yes.
Sounds like it's by a hair.
Yeah. Yes and no.
Okay.
Because I mean it's the positive and the negative here because it's very hard to compare apples and bananas. They're a different shape, they're a different flavor, they're a different color. And here we have a banana trying to fit into an apple-shaped hole because pretty much all of our games are action-based games.
Yeah.
Except like Darkest Dungeon. Yeah.
You've got two really on that list that have zero action in them, and that's Dicey and Darkest.
And Swords of Ditto, you can look at that, and I think most people can understand that fits the sort of typical roguelike mold, where it's you have action, you have some sort of twitchiness, you have run over run, like you have your standard sort of roguelike stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think presentation-wise it takes it from Swords of Ditto.
I think
because it's so unique.
I think for me, what puts Legend of Bumbo over Swords of Ditto is the complaint we've leveraged against Swords of Ditto pretty much from the beginning, which is the lack of variety from run to run and from character to character. And I think just like Dicey Dungeons did, I think Bumbo has a real big win in its column of each character being so significantly different from each other. That's what would put it over for me.
That sounds right. That's how I can put it over.
Is The Legend of Bumbo better than Darkest Dungeon?
As a game, no.
But
it's the Darkest Dungeon question.
Right. Is it a better roguelike?
I think it is. I think if we're ever going to have a game that encapsulates what a roguelike is, I mean, you take certain games from this list, like Risk of Rain, Crypt, like these are the games that everybody knows as a roguelike, and then obviously you've got Isaac, you've got Enter the Gungeon, Nuclear Throne. Is all of these games are considered top of the field, like roguelikes?
Yeah, your classics.
Yeah, and I think I don't think Bumbo fits in that pantheon of legendary games yet.
Sure.
But I think if you're giving someone a roguelike to start learning the mechanics, I think this is a good example of it because it's not action-based. You have the time to stop and think. Whereas, I mean, look at Crypt. Crypt of the Necrodancer is probably one of my favorite games of all time and one of my favorite roguelikes of all time. But if you're not into rhythm action games and you try and tell somebody that is a roguelike and that's what they should start with, you are
how well can you stay on beat? Yeah.
Like, so many more extra things you've got to throw into this, whereas this, it's very simple. It's Candy Crush, except it's poop.
Yeah, and I think part of what I think makes it a great roguelike is the randomness of your spells, your equipment, your equipable actions. I think if it didn't have that, I think it would feel very similar to something like Darkest Dungeon, where it's like, this is kind of your run. Like this is your equipment you have, and you're just going to kind of use it. But I would agree with you. I think in light of that, I think it's probably a better roguelike than Darkest Dungeon is, personally.
Yeah.
I can go behind that.
All right. Is The Legend of Bumbo better than 20XX?
Something tells me this is where I'm going to fall, but I say yes. I say yes because I'm not a huge fan of the Mega Man games. Mm-hmm. And technically speaking, as a game, 20XX is probably better right up until you get to the very end, and then it has those 3 hell levels to end the game because
just stomps on your face,
kick you in the teeth, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also, we did over a year of Isaac podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
This is based in the same universe, so this, of course, has that special little place in my heart where even if it's the worst game ever made, I'll probably still sit here in my brain having a voice going, "Play it. It can't be that bad. Play it.
Play more, Isaac.
Play it."
Well, and I think 20XX. I think The Legend of Bumbo only giving you when you get the option to pick 2 spells. As you're going through a floor of the dungeon, I think that small pool forces you to try and adapt your runs more differently than 20XX really did, because I think 20XX,
we all had our loadout that we loved, and that's the one loadout we used.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, and I think you could make some really cool runs in 20XX that did some really fun stuff, but I think you never really saw the variety that I think even at the beginning of Bumbo you started seeing, where it's like, cool, you're offering me 2 items here and another couple in the shop that I have never seen.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that same thing. Like, there's just the difference of items that I have gotten, like in Bumbo, really does change how you play. And yeah.
Okay. Is The Legend of Bumbo better than Dicey Dungeons?
Oh boy.
I'm gonna say no. And I think the two are successful in the same ways, and they're structured almost identically, and I think Dicey Dungeons, I like the Legend of Bumbo, the characters are different for speed and health and skills, like the starting skills and stuff like that. But you're still playing the match 4, which is good. I think with Dicey Dungeons, it does all that same stuff as well, but the way that you're interfacing with the game changes so significantly from one character to another, and they all manage to work. I think, to me, that's the thing that sort of puts it just above Bumbo, because in a weird way, I think they're kind of very similar games in sort of a strange way, but I think Dicey Dungeons, because of that difference between 6 or 7 characters, I think that for me is what puts it over Bumbo.
Yeah. I honestly can get behind that. Like, I think I knew as soon as it was getting to Dicey Dungeons, just looking at the list, I was thinking
that's the hard stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Getting up to the point where it's got to be something special, and I do think Dicey pulls it off a little bit better than Bumbo does.
Yeah.
And who knows, that might change in a year, in 2 years, when Rebirth Plus comes out for Legend of Bumbo or
Sure.
whatever, but
we had
right
a
now,
second Bumbo rank here.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think Dicey generally came out as a better finished product as well. Like, because in game development, 2 months, 3 months is not a long time. 2 months, 3 months is 2 days, basically, in game development. And I had one bug playing Dicey Dungeons. Now, granted, I didn't have any with Bumbo.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure Monkey had enough bugs for all of us combined.
Yes. Yeah. He took care of all our crash bugs for us, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree that Dicey Dungeons goes over. I would say, like, I was more excited to play Dicey Dungeons, I think, than Bumbo. Like, while playing it, I mean, like...
Right.
They're both puzzly and, like, turn-based and stuff, and sometimes Bumbo kind of felt like a slog to, like, get through just one battle, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
Wait, an Ed McMillan game felt like a slog.
That's fair.
Yeah. What's the other game that he made that's on PC?
Gish.
Is that the one that's the old, like, very black and white?
That's the one with, like, the black blob.
Yes.
It's like a very old game of his. Yeah. All right, well, that is Legend of Bumbo at rank number 6. Sitting above it from 5 to 1, Dicey Dungeons, Risk of Rain, Void Bastards, Crypt of the Necrodancer, and still sitting safely at the top of the mountain, Hand of Fate.
How is that the first game that we did and it sits at number 1?
It's so good. The only thing that can take it over is its sequel. The student becomes the master.
Yes, and the studio closes.
Yeah, R.I.P. All right, well, that is it for us. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you all very much for a fantastic year of We Roguelike It. I was not expecting anyone to listen to this show, and I was certainly not expecting anyone to enjoy the ranking episodes nearly as much as the three of us do. I'm sincerely appreciative that all of you...
we only do it for Boston. He's obsessed with ranking.
I can't help myself. I just... It's so much fun. Sincerely appreciate everyone joining in, especially everyone who's signed up for the Patreon for the 2-week early access. That helps us pay for the show, and we love doing it. We can't stop recording.
Vacation.
Yes, we're very much looking forward to this 2-week break. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next run.
Bye.